Hey YouTube, we are in the desert outside of Las Vegas with this Polaris Razor 900, and we are going to show you around the Valley of Fire and surrounding areas of Las Vegas while we have it. So enjoy. Hey YouTube, so we are leaving the Indian petroglyphs, and we are turning from going south to headed east. And the easterly direction that we are headed in is on the inner part of the Logandale Trail system. So essentially, we're on different trails than we were on earlier in the video. We're like more like in the center instead of like the southerly area. But we are on the way back to the shop, so this will be like the last video. And I did speed it up considerably, so this is like maybe an hour of footage, consolidated down to just like 15 minutes or so or less, just so everybody could see what the area looks like in Logandale. So then they could really get a better idea on if they wanted to come down here and check it out. So once again, this is about an hour from Las Vegas, and we rented the UTV. This is a Polaris 4-door from the Law Power Sports in Overton, Overton, and the price varies, but it's somewhere around like say like $200 to $500. Let's just say, depending on if you get like a Polaris or if you get a Can-Am. Like they have some of the Mavericks there, and then if you get like a 4-door versus a 2-door, the prices kind of vary a little bit. So anyway, so we have the Polaris 4-door because we wanted a Polaris, like this was a specific unit that we wanted to check out. And we are in the Valley of Fire, or outside the Valley of Fire. We are in the Logandale Trail system. And the big red rocks that you see that are kind of dissipating that are on our right would be the Valley of Fire, the edge of the Valley of Fire. And now we are headed more toward like the boxed canyon and where that crushed car was that we saw. And so I'm driving. So Kimberly was driving for the first like 4 videos, I guess. And then the last 2 videos I'm driving. And we've gotten through most of the really kind of interesting stuff. I mean, this is still scenic. And what's kind of amazing is if you remember when she was driving, like there was very little like bounce in the video, and now you can see all this like bounce in the video. We're still using the attached camera that's attached physically attached onto the side by side, but you can see the big difference in the bounciness of having me drive. So I think those are some more rentals. There are quite a few rentals out here. So there's different companies obviously that rent the side by sides. But if you did notice, you can really have like a blast driving these things around. And there's small like in banking, but obviously you don't want to go too fast, especially if you don't know the area very well. So like when we got here, like I started slowing down because just like I saw the edge of the hill and I was just like, hey, what's on the other side of this hill? And I was trying to make sure that I could tell that it was safe to go down it. And you can see that a lot of this, I mean, you could hypothetically get a Jeep through like most of this area, but slowly but surely, when we start getting closer and closer to the rocks, especially, you'll notice that it actually starts to get really, really incredibly narrow, to the point that like you would only want to take a side by side through it. You wouldn't really want to take a Jeep. And we've gone through some really, really narrow stuff at AOAA up in Pennsylvania, and like here, like it looks like we're literally going to go off the edge. But when you actually get up close to it, you can tell that like it's not that bad. So we've left like the sand dune area, and now we're in the gravelly area. You can tell, and the area in which we're coming up on, I think on the left hand side, I'm pretty sure it's the left hand side, is where the gun range is, and or shooting range. So and we'll actually pass a lot closer to it than Kimberly likes. But you can see, I mean, there's all this like kind of awesome like rock walls and stuff that we're able to navigate right up next to. So obviously you could come out here and go hiking and stuff too if you really wanted to. But I don't I didn't see anybody hiking out here, and the distance that we traveled altogether for the day is somewhere in the range of like 35 or 40 miles. So that would be like really a significant distance to try to travel if you were like hiking or whatever. And the average speed today was probably somewhere around like 10 to 15 miles per hour. Um, I think I peaked out driving the unit around 30 miles per hour, but I didn't do it for very long. And even here, you can see that a lot of the speeds, are closer to that like 10 to 15 mile per hour range. Um, on average, they were telling me that like they thought, like Mary specifically thought that, and she was in the backseat the whole time, thought that it was a lot more jerky with me driving than with Kimberly driving. Um, but I was kind of like lead footing it a little bit more than she was. Um, So like we're all by ourselves. I think I said that in a couple different videos. We have a little GPS unit with us that we can use to signal back to the office, like if we need help or whatever. But this is not a guided tour where you're following somebody. You do have to kind of have a brain a little bit and figure out how to get to where you're going. I mean, there's no like really kind of overly complex terrain here, so it's not like you're rock crawling by yourself and you're having to figure out lines. But I do know. I mean, you could do some stupid stuff, and you probably could get yourself hurt. If you were too terribly stupid. But you can tell. I mean, the footage from the footage, um, most of this is not really too terrible, and most people should be able to figure out like where they're going. So this is an area where it's really really wide, and there's like kind of like two paths you can go. So you notice I'm on like the left side, the left turn path, and there's another path that's like a little bit more on our right side. So the path here, this path, I believe is a path that takes you to the shooting range, and on the GPS it wanted us over on that other path. So we don't like pull in front of anybody that is actively like shooting their gun. But we do kind of get like a little bit closer to the shooting range than Kimberly was like wanting. And so, like when we get up here somewhere, or rather when we get close enough to it, and I thought that this was the area. There's a car, so I guess we're not at the shooting range yet, but we almost are. That was like the car that was crushed. But like if you look at this area specifically, it's like really narrow. You wouldn't normally like bring a Jeep back here. I mean, you could, but if you look at the tracks, like how narrow the tracks are, and like even right there, you saw how it was like all like falling in and stuff. This area is really like just meant for a side by side. You can just see how narrow the tracks are. The tracks in a lot of these spots are, like 30, 40 inches apart, and a lot of the areas, I mean, just you would be having to really go up on the hill and stuff, and you can tell that the way this is graded, it's really just meant for side by sides and ATVs. So the northern part of the park seems like it's very much Jeep friendly, and the southern part of the park seems very much like it is side by side and ATV exclusively. So this train, you can tell, is vastly different than the train that we were just on, and that's kind of the cool thing about like coming out here. Um, it's just very very different. Like this train here, you can tell is semi. It's not terribly rocky, but it's a little bit gravelly, I guess. And it has like a grade where you're like going up and down hills, and then some of the other areas was just like flat out like desert, and then other areas, we were in a paved area for a little while, and then another area that we were in, it was like sand dunes. So you do get this like kind of like wide variety of terrains you get to go on. It's not just like the same exact like boring old thing. And so we are completely out of the Valley of Fire now, and the way that you can tell that is if you just look at the even the rock faces, all that beautiful red rock is gone. And what's interesting is if you look in front of us in the distance, you can actually see the snow-covered mountains. So that's always interesting, especially on the West Coast, that you can be in the desert, but you can see the snow like on the mountains, like in the distance. That's always kind of been kind of like a fascination or something like that. That was like really really kind of odd. So up here, I think on somewhere around here, let's just say somewhere around here because I'm not really 100% sure where. I think maybe it's like right here on the right. But somewhere around here was a drop-off location where they dropped us off, and they said, "Here, go. You can head out and have fun." And then, you know, that was where we started at. So now we are headed back to the shop, and you're gonna get to see basically the end of our journey on this cool Polaris side by side. But you get to see it from the opposite point of view, so you can see what the train looks like in the other direction, and you can also see how easy it is to return. Because we're going to have the footage, a little bit of footage at the very end of the video showing us returning the side-by-side back to the shop. There's a shooting range finally. I was like totally ridiculously off on like where it was. You can tell that once again, we don't know the area, but we didn't get lost like anywhere because they had provided us a GPS unit. So you know, that seems really cool that like, you know, you can come out here, you can be on your own. They have like the safety features built in. You can go around and explore, but at the same time, you know, you kind of have like these like a GPS map with waypoints on it to try to ensure that you know, you don't like get completely like lost out in the desert. So I mean, overall, I would say that this was like a really good experience, and you know, if you have any interest whatsoever in the outdoors and seeing Las Vegas and seeing the desert, the next time you go to Vegas, you know, maybe you should come out here and rent like a side by side or ATV or like a Jeep. You know, it's your choice or whatever. We did side by sides this time. The last time we did Jeeps. And there's like companies that do all these different things, but we have all positive, you know, feelings against about the company that we rented it from. So anyway, so here we are. We're on this like little side street, and there's absolutely no traffic at all. So you just basically go down the side street, and it's just a straight shot to the shop. And all you really have to do is cross like one busy street, and you just wait till there's no traffic, and then you're back at the shop. When you get to the shop, I'm just going to talk about it before we get there. When you get to the shop, they do a little walk around and they check the unit out. They make sure that, you know, you didn't do anything stupid like flip it over. And then if everything checks out and it's good, then they're happy with you. And so here we are. We're coming back. I think we were the only people that rented from them for the day. I could be wrong. And they just basically, the guy comes out. He signals for us to take it back into the shop area so they could, you know, wash it off and check it out. And so, you know, here we are. I'm just trying to figure out where he wants me to park it at. And then we do the quick walk around, and he checks it out. There's, I think, the owner of the shop, and everything is good. And so, you know, we had fun. So, you know, please like and subscribe. Thank you, and we'll see you guys around.